Welcome to the Money Savvy Parents Podcast, the podcast for parents to gain financial education to then pass on through the generations. I am your host, Laura, mother to 3 beautiful children and founder of a financial coaching business, Savvy Peacocks. Let's remove the taboo from money together. Hello and welcome back to my podcast. Thank you so much for being with me today. We're going to talk about something that may be important to you if you are in debt. So let's delve into that question and answer it.
I'm interested to find ways in which to start repaying my debt. Can you tell me the best way to do this?
Thank you so much for that question. And first of all, I just want to start off by highlighting that you're not alone. We have a massive debt problem within the UK. In actual fact, the average household has got a credit card debt of around £3,000. So you're really not alone. And this has come from whereby credit facilities has become so much more freely available. And there's the temptation there, isn't there? On top of that, there's no education around how to use credit facilities correctly. There's nothing within our education at school around understanding what getting into debt actually means. And so, you're not alone in this, and I don't want you to feel any anxiety, stress, or worry about it. What I'm going to do in this episode is help you through how you can get this under control and how you can tackle it. So first up, one thing that I think is really important before you think about how you're going to repay this debt and what structure to use, I think it's really important that you have a think about how that debt has arisen. Maybe you want to think about doing some journaling, writing down how it felt spending that money, what you've spent it on, how it's made you feel, some of the things that you've bought with that money, so you can try and understand what sparked that ongoing overspend. What's causing you to have that overspend? Is it that you're tempted by a certain something? Maybe when you look back through your statements, you'll notice that there's lots of payments to a certain retailer or purchasing a certain something. And if that is the case and you can identify maybe you've been overspending in a certain area, then that would when I would head you back to our zero-based spending planner episode and you account for that. I talk very freely about giving yourself permission to spend money on the things you want to spend money on. So if you do know that you like to spend money on a hobby, let's say, and you can see that that's caused your overspending because you've not budgeted for that, you've spent freely, then the best thing you can do is allow yourself permission to have a proportion of your budget towards that, but you stick to it. You have much more awareness around what you're spending your money on around that hobby so that you've got much more control. So that's the first thing I think you can do is journaling and looking back over your statements to see how you've got to that situation. And that can be uncomfortable, but it's reality. And I think that is really important to ensure that you don't end up in the same situation again. So once you've done that, then the first job is to list down all of your debt facility, all of your debtors, and write down how much you owe them, how much you have to pay on a monthly basis, and what's the interest rate. So you can literally just write a list of that. Then once you've got the reality of the total and who you owe money to where and what the interest rate is, you can make a decision about how you want to repay it. And there's a few methods that I often talk about, and this is completely within your choice. There's no right or wrong answer, but I'm just going to explain to you how they work. So the first one is called snowballing. Now, if you're going to look at snowballing, the way that works is that you choose the debts to repay the smallest debts off first. So as you're looking down your list, choose the debt that's got the smallest value and make all of your minimum payments on all of your debts so that you're paying those you're not going to get into trouble with not paying your debt. So you make all the minimum payments, then any spare money you get, you put into that one with the smallest value. Then once you've finished paying that one off with the smallest value, you go to the next smallest one, and you keep adding that money in so that over time you're paying more and more because you're repaying those other ones, if that makes sense. So you'll keep snowballing into paying them off. The great benefit of this is that you can feel, you can really celebrate some quick wins. If there's a small debt for, say, £200-300, then you can get that done and dusted in less than 6 months. And so therefore you've got an opportunity to celebrate that debt being repaid and feeling like you've actually achieved something. So there's a massive benefit to snowballing your debt in that way. The downside is you might actually end up paying more interest because, of course, the debt that owes the smallest amount in value doesn't necessarily mean that it's got the best interest rate. So you may well end up paying more interest over the long term, but at least you get that reward of paying things off and being able to celebrate it. The second option you've got is something that's called avalanching. So the way avalanching works is that you start off by paying the debt that's got the highest interest rate. So again, you make all of your minimum payments to all of your debts individually, then any spare money you've got, you put that into the one that's got the highest interest rate and spend time paying that down as much as you possibly can. So the benefit of this is that obviously you're going to pay less interest because you're paying the ones that have got the highest interest rates first. But of course, it might take you a longer time to get that to get to that celebratory point where you're repaying some actual debt off and you've got an opportunity to cut up that credit card and have that celebration. So for me, avalanching makes more sense from a monetary point of view, but if you're the type of person that needs some quick wins, that likes to celebrate your success, then snowballing is the way to go. Now, the third thing that I think is really important as an option to think about is consolidating that debt all into one payment. And the reason I like to talk about this is because doing that is ideal for people that want to know exactly where they stand. They feel like they've got a plan. So yes, you might end up drawing all of your debts into one payment and knowing that you've got 3 or 4 years to pay it off and it's going to be a set amount monthly in a personal loan. You probably won't be able to make any great overpayments into that. So you are sort of committing to that monthly payment. But what you could do is if you do find you have extra money that you want to contribute towards that debt, then you can just set it aside in a savings account. And then when your savings account is more than your overall debt that you owe, then obviously they cancel each other out. Now, with this option, you need to be aware that it may well be that you end up paying a different interest rate or more interest. So if your credit cards are all on a 0% deal, for example, and you put them onto a personal loan, you may well pay 7-8% on a personal loan. Some places will do a personal loan for 3 or 4%. That all just depends on your credit scoring. But the benefit of having it on a personal loan instead of on a 0% on a credit card is it means you've got that set structure. You know that in 3 years' time or 4 years' time, your debt is going to be repaid. Whereas by keeping it on a 0% on a credit card, there's that temptation there to respend once you've paid it down, or just not bother making any overpayments because it's just 0%. So it doesn't matter because it's not charging us interest. So a lot of this, in case you can't pick up, is around the psychology of what you're doing with that money. So you need to think about which option is best for you in relation to how you approach money. I'm going to draw you back to my money languages quiz. I would suggest you take that quiz before you make this decision so you can get an idea about your approach to money and your relationship with money so that you can then make a decision. Is it better for me to have some quick wins and pay some debts off quickly and being able to celebrate? Then snowballing is your one. Is it important to me that I pay it off in the most money-saving way possible? Then obviously avalanching is the best way to do that. Or do I need set structure and something to work towards, and a set goal and a time frame in mind? Then maybe debt consolidation is the way for you to go. Good luck with your journey. I hope that's helped you. Remember, in summary, list everything else, journal about how that feels, how you got to that point, what your statement showed you spent your money on, and then go ahead into choosing which debt repayment option is the best for you. I hope you have an awesome day, and I look forward to having you back on the podcast soon. Take care. Thank you so much for listening to Money Savvy Parents. If you enjoyed today's episode, then please subscribe and post your money questions within a review for future episodes. If you want to learn more, then please join my Money Savvy Parents Facebook group or club on Clubhouse. Let's remove the taboo from money together.